We are just going to jump straight into things today and get started on our first project of the day, which is going to be building up a ghast farm. And for that, we need to find this biome right here, which is a soul sand valley, because there are only 3 mobs that can spawn in a soul sand valley, and those include skeletons, ghasts, and endermen. And so we do want to go in here a little ways, and I'm just going to build up here with the scaffolding all the way up to the build height limits, because I want to try and get the rates as good as I possibly can. And there we go. So now we need to climb all the way up here, and then we can start building the platforms for the ghasts to spawn on. And this is going to take a little while, so I'm just going to cut here. And here we are at the very top. And I do want to go down a little ways. And so this should probably be good. This is going to be a little tricky. Hopefully I don't fall off. I did not really think this through. How am I going to... Okay, I guess that'll work. And we do have to be careful with building this stuff so that we don't accidentally get ghasts spawning outside of where we want them to spawn in. So that is something we do have to keep in mind here. We will most likely get skeletons spawning up here, although I will try to light things up so that we don't. So the first thing I am going to do is build over to the chunk over there. And then I'm going to fill in that chunk with some stone for the collection system. Okay, so there is our platform. And now I do want to have a little bit of a plan for the storage situation. And I will obviously need some hoppers for that. And we probably don't need that anymore. So I do kind of want a centralized storage situation. Which I am planning on building 4 of these. One of them over here, of course. And then there will be one over there, and one over there as well. And then kind of having some hoppers flowing off to the side here. I don't think we need too many, because this farm is not going to have ridiculous rates. And so now we can get started on putting in all of the powered rails that are needed. And on top of these rails are going to be some mangrove blocks, which the ghasts are going to spawn on. And the reason why I'm using half slabs is because I have a lot of these left over from tearing down that froglight farm thing. But honestly, this farm is like pretty much identical to the froglight farm, except there's no frogs inside of it. So I probably don't need to show you guys this on camera because you've probably already seen it. So I'm just going to build up this one module here, and then I will show you guys the results of it. And then I'll build up the other 4, or the other 3 actually, a little bit later. I've got 2 of these guys built up now, and things are getting a little bit loud around here because we have 2 ghasts in here. Anyway, as I was saying, I've got 2 of these guys built up, and I did intend to record myself building these up in replay mod, but I completely forgot to hit record on replay mod when I started building them. So, yeah. Unfortunately, you guys didn't get to see any of that. But as you can see, the design for them is actually really simple. It's, like I said, very similar to the froglight farm we built up. I believe it's that way down there. But the basic concept is you have a spawning platform down here that is inside of a chunk, and then the ghasts will spawn on there. And since this is a soul sand valley, there are only 3 mobs that can spawn here, which are ghasts, skeletons, and endermen. And then I put some lights in the floor there that will prevent the skeletons and endermen from spawning. So the only mobs that can spawn in these 2 chambers are ghasts, as you can see there. And then the powdered snow there is to freeze the ghasts to death. As you can see, that is happening right now, and it is very loud. But then when they freeze to death, they will drop their drops, and it looks like we just got gunpowder that time. So yeah, this farm is almost identical to our Froglight farm. In fact, the only differences are the fact that I believe it's 1 block taller, and the powdered snow is not quite as densely packed. And then I also put some lights in the floor. But other than that, that is literally the only difference. And as you saw there, the rates of this farm are actually not that bad. We've pretty much been constantly getting gas to spawn in here, and I'm going to step away from that because it's very loud. But the entire time that we've been talking, we've pretty much gotten gas spawning in here regularly. And yeah, this is from building up the 2 farms and then also doing a little bit of AFKing. It was only about an hour of AFKing, and we've already gotten well over half a stack of Ghast Tears. So this farm is doing quite well. In fact, I may not actually build up the other 2 modules that I was going to. I may just leave it as these 2. And I can already tell AFKing here is going to be very painful. I'm going to have to turn the volume down whenever I AFK here. But all that is really left to do now is to make this place look a lot nicer and set up the storage room, because right now they're just collecting in those hoppers there and over there. So I need to connect those up into a central storage room. And I also want to set up a nice little area right here to AFK in. And yeah, I may also add in some landing platforms for when I fly up here with my elytra. I do also want to try and have like some sort of spike sticking down so that I can tell when I'm on the ceiling where this is, because right now all I have is this scaffolding pillar to let me know where it is. So I'm gonna get working on that and probably do a time lapse of it or something, and then I will show you guys the final results of this farm. And yeah, hopefully it is looking pretty good when it's all done. And now this farm is done. I think this area here is actually looking pretty good. As you may have seen in that time lapse there though, this spruce wood here used to be warped wood, but I changed it because I didn't really like the way it was working with this mangrove wood. I felt like it was clashing a little bit too much. And in general, I don't really like the way the nether woods look. I think they're just a little too contrasty, almost. They're definitely way more contrasty than this regular wood is, so I'm not a huge fan of the nether woods in general. But I did hook up these 2 farms to a central storage location, as you can see, and yeah, this farm is doing really good. We have almost 2 full stacks of Ghast Tears now, and that is after building up this area right here, as well as doing about an hour of AFKing, in addition to all of the other stuff like building up the farms and you know, doing a little more AFKing as well. But the storage situation is pretty simple. We just have a line of hoppers going over here with furnaces on top of them to help reduce the lag a little bit. And then those are feeding into this dropper here, and then we have a simple dropper elevator that is going up into this dropper, and then this hopper, and then those are going over into the chests here. We also have this spike going all the way down. It doesn't actually go down to the ceiling of the nether, but if we fly down here, we can actually see how far down it goes, and when you're down here, you can also tell that you can't see anything up there at all, which is why I really wanted to have this come down, but I think it needs to come down a little bit further, because when you're running along here, you can't see it at all because of how far up it is. Yeah, that farm is way up there. But that is going to be it for the Ghast farm in this episode at least, and now it is time to move on to the next part of the episode, which is going to be building up a blaze farm. And for that, we do need to make a quick pit stop at the base first, so we need to go back there. And this pit stop is going to be to brew some fire resistance potions. so that we can actually take advantage of this potion brewing array. And I will explain why we need these in a little bit, but I'm going to let this brew and then meet you guys at the Nether Fortress, which is where the blaze spawner is going to be, and then we can start work on building up the blaze farm. And here we are in the Nether Fortress, and we do gotta be careful of these wither skeletons and the blaze. I'm not exactly sure what blaze spawner I'm going to use. I think the one down here may be a little bit better because it seems like there's a little more structure to this area around here, whereas that one is just kind of floating around. But this farm is actually going to be quite similar to the spider farm that we built up, surprisingly enough. Of course, we are not going to be using water to push the blaze because you can't place water in the nether, but we will be using lava, which is why I needed to bring the fire resistance potions here. But this farm is going to be quite simple, just like the ghast farm was today. So all we really need is to build a nice little spawning chamber for these blaze to spawn in. And then we also need to set up some lava channels to push the blaze into a singular killing chamber, which is where I will be doing the blaze rod collection. So yeah, this farm was really not as easy as I thought it was gonna be. It is still a pretty simple farm, but the problem with building this up is that you can't really disable blaze spawners very easily. So as a result, the entire time I was building up this farm, there were just blaze constantly spawning, and it made building it very, very difficult. But as you can see, it is rather quite simple in its design. The blaze just spawn in, and they will naturally fall down until they hit the lava, and then the lava will just push them into the killing chamber down there. But to add to the annoyances with this farm, standing right here in the killing chamber, killing the blaze, is a little bit too far away from the blaze spawner in order for more blaze to spawn in. So yeah, I have to move that killing chamber a little bit closer to the spawner, and I am already honestly quite annoyed with this farm as it is, so I don't really feel like doing that right now, and I just kind of want to wrap up this episode and deal with that a little bit later. But once all the blaze end up here, you just hit them with your sword. I'm using a looting sword, and then the drops will collect in the hoppers there, and then they will end up back here in a dropper elevator. We can't use water in the nether, so we have to use a dropper elevator. And then they will end up in these chests over here, which I already have quite a few blaze rods from this farm already, and also from running around the Nether Fortress trying to get more wither skeleton skulls. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this farm. I do want to decorate this room up a little bit more, but I'll get to that later because I am very much done with this farm. I don't want to deal with it anymore. But anyway, that is it for the blaze farm, and that is going to be it for this episode. We did have a rather productive episode. We built up that ghast farm, which is a very good ghast farm, and I highly recommend building that into your world if you haven't yet. It is so simple to build, and it works so well. And then we also built up that blaze farm there, which I do need to do a little tweaking to in order to make it better. But other than that, it works fine as it is, and I don't have my elytra on. But that blaze farm works well enough for now, so I don't need to do any major changes to it. And as far as that bastion is concerned, I am saving that for 1.20 so that I can get the whatchamacallits, the armor trim stuff from there. So I'm not going to raid that bastion anytime soon, and I've known about that for a very long time. Anyway, that is going to be it for this episode because I am starting to run out of time for this one, and I really need to get it out to you guys. So if you did enjoy it, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and all of that good stuff. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time.